the people.
Beautiful, cold Michigan day.
Man,
Chilly,
it's nice.
chilly.
It's nice out here. Don't be playing with
Nice
the people
chilly.
like that, man. But you know what? We got a very, very, very special guest. Special is an understatement. We got a legendary guest in the house, don't we, Stubbs?
Yes, we do.
Oh, my. I had to sum up what I'm about to say, but this woman right here, Marie Nelson, larger than life, all around expertise in fashion, creativity, and swag first caught the attention of the dance scene show, Nat Morris. Marie moderated and produced shows such as Late Night Fashion AZ, and throughout her career doing voiceovers for over 150 Detroit restaurant franchises. And her greatness and her success attributes to her character, Cold Medina. And throughout that, she went on to produce the classic hip-hop show, Rap's Corner. This lady right here worked with many, many legendary acts, such as The Fresh Prince, DJ Jazzy Jeff, MC Hammer, Two Live Crew, Run DMC, Ice-T, LL Cool J, and much, much more. So today, let's give a round of applause for legendary Cold Medina. Come on now, welcome to the podcast, welcome to the Takeoff.
I'm so happy to be in the building.
Oh, wow.
And speaking of Michigan weather, I'm cold. I'm Cold Medina.
literally.
You didn't even get it. You didn't
No, I
even
got
get
it literally. I got it.
And they were like, huh?
You know, for that,
Took me a second.
for that, I got to press this for you.
Okay.
It's so cold in the D. So cold in the D. Welcome to the show. We're so happy
Thank
that you're
you.
here.
I'm so happy to be here, and this is the first time that I've ever been interviewed. You all are my first, and my first podcast.
Really?
So I'm catching up with the 20th century.
Well, technically,
Doing
your
podcast.
show, I've seen clips of your show on YouTube, so it's kind of podcast form.
Yeah.
It's not a podcast, but I get what
Okay.
you're saying, though. But I did have a question, though.
Sure,
Tone Loc came out with a song, Cold Medina.
I know.
Any relation?
It has been a blessing and a curse. I am just Cold Medina.
Yeah, that's true.
Not fucking Cold
And
Medina.
not the funky
Okay.
part.
Okay.
And so what happened was Flavor Flav was in town. There was a concert. And he was in town. He stopped by the venue. And we met, and I told him about my show. And I said, I need a rap name. And he said, Cold Medina. And I'm like, oh, yes, that's me. And he said, and I'm your godfather. And I'm like, perfect. So I have been using that name, the character Cold Medina, which he authorized for me to use. I don't know if it was before or after that Tone Loc came out with the Funky Cold Medina song. It might have been after, I'm not sure. But there's no relation. And I assure you, I had to make my corrections because that name, the Funky Cold Medina, I'm sure is registered. And so, you have to be careful. Mine is registered too as Cold Medina. So that's what separated us.
I registered
You have to register, when you assume name.
with
but
BMI
with the
or
record
ASCAP
company,
or with. I didn't know if it was with BMI or ASCAP or who are you registered?
I was registered here where my show was.
Oh, okay.
See, when you're dealing with a record company, there's a different type of paperwork you have to do. So I wasn't going to infringe on that. That's why I made sure that when I did my assumed name, that it was Marie Nelson, Cole, / Cole Medina.
Right. That way
So
nobody can take it from
that way I can't be sued or anything like that.
you. Cool. Now, back to your name, what Flavor Flav just said, Cold Medina. He just came out of nowhere with it. He just...
Like I said, we talked, and I was doing other TV shows on WGPR, and I don't think we had gotten started with the production, and that's why I said, well, I can't be, I'm Marie Nelson on several other shows, but this is totally different.
Right.
So I need, something that's really urban, and so we talked about it. And, he has it in one of his songs. And so I've been using it ever since. I've been ever since.
You know, I want to talk about Legendary Raps Corner. That show, I was told that show was the first
Yeah.
show that showed, rappers, all type of performance and their true natural life.
That's
How,
true.
how did that come about?
It was a brainstorm of mine. They weren't playing rap music here in this market, in the Detroit market, on radio. They weren't doing it. And so you have all of these talented people, these young people who had a vision, and they're in the studio, they're spending money, and they're trying to find themselves in the music industry, but they can't get played. And so once I found that out, I'm like, look, let's do a rap show. And it had to be inside of my friend, Nat Morris. He put it a segment inside of his show. And the same thing, no, that's wrong. Not Nat, it was RJ Watkins. We put the Raps Corner segment inside of his show. And so everybody was calling, my partner at that time was one of the acting producers, and he was in close contact with the record companies. And I mean, Tommy Boy Records, they sent cases of Timberland boots. Timberland boots had just came out, just the all black ones. And that's what, that was our gift and our thanks for promoting their artists.
And that's a classic thing right there, the Timberland boots.
Oh, yeah. So everybody got a pair.
You're right.
And so just after that, they just, heard about Raps Corner, and just started, we started meeting with the A&R people, and the artists were coming, and, I was giving them, doing great interviews, because guess what? This is what a platform is for. Okay? It's not for foolishness. When you're dealing with people who are serious about their craft, then there's things, you have an obligation to, whether you feel they're good or bad, that's not the point, because there's music and other dances and all kinds of things that are not just for you, but we live in a universe. So somebody's going to like it. And so that's what I based everything on when I did my interviews. I'm like, look, and we got a relationship. We talked, we hugged, I congratulate them. These are not people that's just sitting down and I'm not going to, even if I don't see you anymore, you have left an impact on my life because I'm watching you. Every artist that I have ever interviewed went on to do great things.
Yeah.
They were starting at the ground. Nobody knew anything about them, hadn't even heard. They're not playing them, not in this market. And so when I went on in there, and I let them have it with that interview. You would have thought they had won all kind of Grammys, but that's how I saw that, though. I said, like the Fat Boys, when I interviewed them. Jazzy Jeff, Will Smith. Look at him. Queen Latifah. The list goes on. Hammer. So these people, I feel really great to know that I had just an itty bitty part of making their career.
Now, what was the most interesting artist that have you met?
Oh, that was the 2 Live Crew. They were
Talk about it. I want to know.
Oh my God!
I want to know.
I love them. It was a lot of controversy when they came in town to do a show. And they wanted to do Raps Corner.
Was this before or after the Supreme Court case? Do you remember?
Oh, this is way before that. Yeah. So what happened was there were a lot of mothers in the community that said, don't touch them. Don't interview them. And you know what? And I listened and I acted on what they said because I have children and the content was crazy.
Wait. Okay. The way you worded it, you made it seem like you listened to the mothers and you didn't.
I
do the
listened to
interview.
the mothers and the community.
And you didn't
Mothers
interview them?
in the community.
So but you
I didn't
interviewed-
interview them.
I thought you. Oh,
I didn't, because they told me that, look, we've got children. You've got children. Is this what you want your kids to listen to? And I'm like, no.
So how'd you
So
end
I
up
didn't
being-
employ them.
he probably had a logical point as to why he.
Well, I mean, that particular song, hey, I want some. That was the song that, look,
Hard to defend.
all the religious groups, churches, moms, community, they like, no.
It's way worse now. Some of the
Yeah.
messages in music.
Well, you're right. But we're talking what, 83, 84, somewhere like that?
Oh,
And this
year
was
in-
before gangster rap, you know? So, no, I wasn't going to do that.
I would say this. That was before they started putting the parental advisory sticker on the album.
Yeah, probably. You know, and so what ended up happening, you know, they got the call that I would not do the televised interview, and they were like, "Oh no, we got to do something. You got to interview us." So I remember I had car trouble, and I was on 8 Mile, and right there at the service drive. And one of them pulled up on me, and he was like, "I heard you didn't want to do the interview. What happened? We was all ready to go." I explained to him what had happened. I just can't do it and feel good about it. So we did get the interview with Luke a few years later, but that interview never got shown. And so I don't know what happened to it, because we did it at Mr. Watkins' studio, and it was a closed private interview. But I mean, it was a very decent, very good interview, but we never aired it. So, but that was one of the crazy ones, because they were like, Cold Medina you get an interview with her, you didn't, you know, that's it.
But do you think if you would have talked to them ahead of time, like, hey, I will interview you. However, can you guys please adhere to these guidelines? Don't dress this way. Don't use these words.
See, the thing of it is, it wasn't what they were saying. It
was just
the
them.
song.
Okay. So,
Personally, they are just regular guys. And that's one thing I can say about any artist that I've ever interviewed. They've always been highly respectful.
but you think you could have still interviewed them and just ignored that one, like talk about any and everything else? Other
Again,
than,
it's the song.
yeah.
It was the song, you know?
By that time, the fire already
Yes,
been started.
Yeah, but you know, I'm a community-oriented person, and I have raised my children to be the same way, and they're grown now. But you have to listen to the community. You have to, because you know, I have a platform, and my platform is a positive one. It's not negative. So for me to just jump out there and say, "Oh, you know, I'm gonna do it anyway," then that's very hypocritical.
Now, I do want to know, what's the farthest you ever traveled for an interview?
Oh my God.
Or
Not
any-
out of the city.
Okay.
No, we can go from hotel to Cobo Hall to the Joe Louis Arena, 3:00 in the morning, you know, and, you know, carrying a backdrop, you know.
Now, I do got a question for you. Who's your favorite artist?
Rap artist?
Rap artist.
That's a good question. You mean now?
let's
Because if it's now,
go for now. Yeah, let's
it
try.
would be Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
I
okay.
love him.
Okay, we can agree on that. Yes.
Yeah.
Because he's mine as far as right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
But what about back when you were doing the show?
Well, I would have to go with group if it's okay.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, so many of them.
And that was a different time. That was a beautiful time in rap.
That's a crazy question, and I'm going to answer it. I'm trying to think of the group itself, but we'll just I'll throw something out there, and I'll say My Hammer.
MC
That he's the love of my life in terms of artistry. You know, he's a great guy. He hasn't changed. Still working hard. You know, and yeah, we've had a very good working relationship. Yeah.
Is it true about Hammer? They say he's actually well connected. Like he will actually pull up on somebody. If that makes sense. Like anybody talk bad about him, he would actually.
I don't know, but I know I came to his defense one time. I can't think of the name. There were two white rappers back then, and I think
The two that everybody knows.
Yeah.
Okay, I ain't gonna say it.
And I can't, I blocked them out after we had that encounter because we had a really, really strong conversation. And they had put a song out and they were bashing Hammer. Or what's the other word you call it when they get into
Like
the
dissing?
conflict?
Like dissing Hammer, like
Yeah. And I didn't like it. And I was supposed to interview them, and I turned that down. And he was, why? I mean, my wife is black. And I said, look, you stay within your boundaries. And that was really dissing and all that kind of stuff wasn't, like it is now. That was new to me. And I'm like, how dare you talk about my Hammer? You know what I'm saying? And I didn't interview them. Not at all. In fact, I blotted him both. It was two of them. And they had a real popular record, but I can't think of the name of them. I can't even think of the name of the record.
Now, outside of rap, back to his question, who's one of your favorites artists outside of rap?
My favorite artist outside of rap.
Yes.
So that would be like R&B or something.
Yeah, because
like
you
that.
just said Kendrick because he limited it
Yeah.
to rap.
Well, I love Kim.
Little Kim?
chemistry.
Kim.
Chemistry.
Oh,
Yes.
K-E-M. Oh,
Yes.
I'm thinking Little
Shout out
Kim.
Detroit.
Oh,
Shout
no,
out
little
chemistry.
Kim. Oh, no.
No chemistry.
I
bro.
didn't.
No,
No.
I love Kim too, but no.
Yeah, I heard he used to do free shows out here.
Yeah. He's a really. I've never met him, but he's a great guy. I follow him on social media.
He give great concerts too. I've been to one of his concerts
I
before.
went to his concert last year. My daughter took me, and great concert.
Hell of a performer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Now I just want to know one more thing when it comes to Rap's Corner. When I remember we were talking off here about LL Cool J, and you say you were interviewing him and how he was. How did that make you feel? Knowing that you were right there in front of LL.
Well, he wasn't a big deal then. He was just really, really getting started. And so we met briefly, and then we went right into the interview. And like I said, he was a little scared of me, and I was scared of him because, neither one of us wanted to mess up anything, But I got the song title wrong. It was, I don't know, the song I Need Love or I Want Love, whatever it was.
I Need Love.
Huh?
It's I Need Love.
Yeah, and I said, I don't know what I said, but it was wrong. And so he corrected me, and I'm like, you're right. That's the name of the song. And we went right on into the video. But he's a good guy too. Yep. He's like, he was young then, very young. And, interviews can really go bad. You get the wrong person interviewing you, it can really go bad. And it's just like eating something that upsets your stomach. You don't want to bother it again. And that's what I felt with him. He might have had gotten a bad interview somewhere, but our interview was real brief. It was because he was getting ready to perform. So again, we just ran in here and did a quick interview, and that was that.
Now let me also ask you this about fashion.
Oh.
I remember about fashion, like what got you into fashion? I can see you well coordinated when it comes to colors and everything.
It goes back to my upbringing. And I tell everybody who knows me knows this story. My dad was a pastor, and my mom was a fashionable woman herself, and she would sit when I went to kindergarten. I had on, like the really frilly dresses with the crinoline underneath, patent leather shoes with my, fancy socks, and my hair. My grandmother always did my hair. It was impeccable, okay? So what ended up happening one day, the teacher wanted me, the kids sit down on the floor. That was the norm. But I knew I don't sit on the floor. I sit in a chair because my mom raised me to be a lady.
What grade
And my
was this?
dad.
What grade?
I was in kindergarten.
This is kindergarten. You
Yeah.
gonna sit on the floor?
Look, my mother dressed. Look, that's how
I
was-
get what you're saying.
And
Yeah.
that was not every day did I wear dress, but it was on that level.
Yeah.
So the teacher says, "Well, Marie," she says, "Oh, you have to sit on the floor." And I says, "Well, my mother told me I don't sit on the floor." And she looked at me like, "Really?" And I didn't. I was very defiant. And so my mom had to, when she picked me up from school, I told her what had happened. And she told the teacher, she says, she does not sit on the floor. I don't care. And I wasn't allowed to wear pants because my dad said men wear pants, not women, not girls. I wasn't allowed to ride a bike. You don't straddle a bike. That's for boys. So you could see how I was raised. So after that, I mean, I always, when my mom dressed me, she always dressed me stylish. I mean, everything was in style. You know, in the 60s, I wore all the 60 outfits with the 60 hair. And whatever fad that was out there, and like she said, the style is right if it's right for you, you know. And so ever since then, I mean, that's how, you know, my girls I got 7 girls, and all my daughters are fashionable. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I seen one right here. It's fashionable, you know, coordinated.
Yeah.
Shout out to her.
Right now, Aaliyah Nore is my producer.
Okay.
She pretty much runs everything for both shows. And I'm just so happy to have her on board because I do so much and some things I miss. And she's just growing up, they all watched me do what I'm doing now. You know, she just happens to be a producer and whatever, and a recording artist. So she knows the ins and outs.
Okay.
Now, I got a question. Do you remember your first interview? Or first major one? Because I'm sure you probably had practice interviews.
I really don't.
You don't?
But I did practice with the hairbrush in the mirror doing interviews.
Now, in high school, were you on the yearbook team? Did you do like interviews or what was your role in
No,
high
I
school?
didn't. But I had theater when I was in high school. I think I was in the 11th grade. And I had a wonderful drama teacher. And so that really kind of made me think, I might want to do this. Because I would love to act. I think I'd do a pretty good job, you know, being an actress.
So would it be fair to say you wanted to do this from an early age?
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, yeah. And so it's when you step out of character, some say it's an alter ego, but when you step out of character, when you know what's inside of you and you are bringing that out, it's easy. And so when you see actors and actresses, and I look at Denzel and I you know, have done a lot of research on him and everything. And I mean, just coming up, he felt just like I did. You know, I could do this and I could do that, and he wouldn't got the training. So with me, I ended up going to Spec Howard's School of Broadcast Arts and trying to make a decision if I wanted to do radio or TV. And I decided, well, heck, I've been on TV since I was 16 years old, over in Windsor, Ontario, doing a dance show called Swingin' Time with Robin Seymour. And that was back, I started that show in 65. And that's where I met a lot of the Motown artists. And so I was a principal dancer on the show. And so everything just started coming together, you know. And then I would snoop down the hall, and they had a lady. Her name was Mary Morgan, and she did like a ET show. She did a show like that, and I would be in the hallway, and I'm like, oh gosh, I want to do that. I want to do that so bad. I mean, just studying people who are in communications.
You know, you have a very interesting career because you said that you knew the Motown sound back in the 60s all the way up till the 90s. And I just want to know, like, how did you, how was the transition from music between the decades, by witnessing that?
Well, in terms of Motown, I met at 16. I was a stand-in dancer for one of the dancers. And also with Swinging Time, they had a Swinging Time review, which was with the big band, the big Motown band. And it was myself. It was a couple other kids off of the Swinging Time show. And so Edwin Starr, I don't know if you're familiar with him, Double O So. That was one of his hit records. And War. Boom, boom.
Yeah.
So met him backstage. He saw me I did an opening act for, up on the riser. And I'm going to tell you, I was killing it. Okay. So he was like, I want you to do a dance segment with me. And he told me what, I forget the name of the song. I forget now. Anyway, so I said, okay, great. Well, you had these two sisters that were on there. And one of them, their dad sang with the Capitals, the Cool Jerk.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so, automatically, they were already picked to do a little segment on there in the back. So when they saw me standing backstage and he was getting ready to give me a cue, and boom, I came right out there on that cue and tore it up. And they were looking like, where'd she come from? Because they knew nothing about it. And it was just, look, I'm not going to let anybody kill my thunder. If I'm picked to do something, you better believe I'm going to do it to the fullest. And I did. So for 7 days, he and I rehearsed backstage, with this song. And that was that. So, of course, nobody spoke to me anymore. They talked about me under the breath. And I think I'm this and I think I'm that. But yeah, I am. Of course I am.
Haters, I just hate
I
haters.
mean, you need your haters.
It's just
You
negative elevation.
need 'em.
Yeah,
That's what I've been saying.
You know what I'm saying?
They make you famous.
Yeah, don't they? But I don't feel that anyone should take a step back because somebody doesn't like you.
Right.
All the time I have been doing these shows, no one has ever written me or made, they didn't have the social media, so you had to write letters to the station. But I never got a nasty letter. Always people was like, oh my God, I just love how you interview. I love your energy. They see me in Kroger's or Farmer Jack or, whatever.
Ooh, Farmer Jack.
The Farmer Jack,
School, yeah.
And I mean, I'm just a regular mom, and so if people stop me and they be like, oh, that's Cold Medina. I'm like, hey, we hug and there's like, you don't remember me, but I danced on the scene and like that, but it's a good feeling. But I don't take a back seat for anyone. I don't have to.
Those women who are hating on you or those dancers, did any of them try to get to know you or they just all were clicked up?
They really, they were even on the Swinging Time show. They were a little standoffish because guess what? When I hit that show, I was sharp. My mom made sure I had all my outfits. We taped, once a week. And we had to ride the bus over there to Windsor. But one time, Marvin Gaye was on the show. And I tell you.
Brother, rest in peace.
Why did he say I was his favorite dancer?
Really?
Why did he say?
Oh, so the heat got turned up on you. The heat. Yeah.
I'm like, no. You know what I'm saying? Who would have thought that he would even watch this show?
Right.
So I knew then. I said, Marie, you have something. You have something, but you have to develop it just like anything else.
Right.
If you want to be better, you got to put in the work. And this is what I tell everybody. Just because you think you're good, everybody doesn't think you're good. Okay? And there's always somebody out there better than you. So you always have to work on yourself. Be your best. Look your best. And love people. And I do. I love people. I think that we need each other in order to function in this world.
Absolutely.
And when they don't like you, I don't think it's a personal thing. I think that they just can't see a reflection. If I'm looking at you and the both of you, and I'm looking at what you do and how well you do it, I want to do that. I want to learn it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to sit back and say, they think they this because they got a podcast. No. I want to learn what you do. You understand what I'm saying? Because this is new. Podcast, it's new.
You do know the way you think and behave and even carry yourself is rare in today's women.
It is.
That's coming up. Yeah.
You're right. I agree.
A bunch of stuff is falling off. I don't know if it's a lack of generations not teaching, but
well, you're right. That is it in a nutshell.
yes.
And it's what you think about yourself. Most of us have issues in our development. So if you had a mom who didn't make sure that you looked a certain way in order for you to have, good and high self-esteem, then, when you get bullied, you're going to fall apart. You're going to cry.
Do you think social media got a lot to do with that?
No, because they were doing this before when I was coming up. Oh, we had our bullies. Oh, they talked about me because I'm bow-legged, okay? So the fellas, because I all the football players and basketball players, I was like their little sisters.
Oh, yeah?
Little sister, And so they gave me a name. It was called Stony Burke, which was a TV show like Rifleman, and he was a Western character. And so, at first I'm like, quit calling me that, because I was in the 9th grade, freshie. Quit calling me that, but it was affectionate, okay?
Oh, they didn't mean it in a bad way?
They didn't mean it in a bad way. They thought I was, that little cute bow-legged girl. You know what I'm saying? But I was taking it like, they already tell you when you're in the 9th grade, you're going to get picked on. So I already had set myself up for that. But as it turned out, with fashion and looking good every day, I started getting noticed in a good way. And, the girls, they didn't like that because they liked these football players and these basketball players. And I wasn't trying to they were much older than I was. And it wasn't that kind of relationship. It was playful, respectful. And so...
like a family vibe. Like a family vibe.
It was a family vibe. And this is how my daughters, all their friends are the same. They have more male friends probably than they do females.
You know what my grandparents would call that?
What?
You good people.
Good people.
You good people.
Because if a guy likes you and he respects you, just in a friendship, you're good people. Absolutely.
There's not too many of those out here nowadays.
No. But again, it's all in your development. And I raise my children. I let them know that they are meaningful. They are beautiful, creative. They're everything. I mean, I put them way up here. And even if they slip and make mistakes, which we all are going to do that. I always say that's a teachable moment. Because when you do this, people are looking at you. Not so much because your mom has been on television and all that. That has nothing to do with it, okay? Not for us in our family. What's important is that you get the same respect and honor that you deserve, okay? And that's all. That's it. And that's been the thing with all my daughters because they are beautiful. They are very beautiful and smart.
Now I do want to know, do you have any older brothers?
I have one surviving brother.
Well, back then, even when
Oh,
you
back
were
then? Oh, I had two brothers.
two, okay.
And I was the big sister. They used to pick on my
Oh, you were the oldest of your siblings?
of my brothers. I had
okay,
an older sister, but growing up, she was grown. But then living with my two younger brothers and myself, it was hell to pay. Because I grew up in a very, very good family, and we traveled every summer. We were hitting the road. My dad was an evangelist and a very well known, and he was a good man, good community person, and my mom. And we had a new car like every 2 or 3 years. We had a brand new car, and our home was nice. We ate good. We were about the second Black family in our community. Everybody else was like German or Ukraine, and when we moved, because I was born in Marion County, Indiana. And so when we moved back to Detroit, in that community, we were the second Black to live there. And so it was rough because we had a Polish neighbor who picked on us, my brother and I, and we'd be in the backyard playing. My mother kept us clean. My mother would bring me, if I had a speck of dirt on me, she was bringing me in the house and changing the whole complete outfit. And this lady, I never will forget her, she would come out and she'd take her water hose and put it through the fence and wet me and my brother up.
Just out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. She was so mean and hateful. But, my mother says, one day she's going to need a glass of water, and you might be the one to have to give it to her. And when she passed away, I never will forget, her husband ran over, he was beating on the door, and my wife, and my mother went over there for the first time ever had been in their house, ever in the walkway of their property. And she called an ambulance, and they came and got her. She passed away on the way to the hospital. But it was a moment to where my mom really had to work with me and my brother through the whole ordeal to help us understand about racism and to understand, because we're like, why is she doing this to us? My granddad was a white man. My mom was biracial. And even in the marriage between my mom and my dad, it was rough because they used to call her, his sisters used to call her a white woman. And, they didn't really at first accept her. So it always was some kind of something going on. And my granddad was racist. We could not, for me and my brothers, because we were darker skinned, darker complected, he told us that the only day we could come over to he and my grandmother's house, and she wasn't like that, was on a Monday. Oh, and he sat on the porch with his captain hat on, his dog Wolf, a humongous sized German Shepherd, and he'd have his bourbon and a case of his Stroh's beer.
I'm thinking of Archie Bunker when you describe him. I don't know why.
It was so. I have to give you this visual,
Mm-hmm.
And when we come over there, it was me and my two little brothers, and that was the day that he loved on us, and it was not a problem.
Right.
But my cousins, who their father was West Indian, so they're fair-skinned, really pretty hair. Okay, that was my mom's only sister, and they lived upstairs.
So
okay?
sorry for cutting you off. His love for you was only extended to Mondays.
On Monday.
Do you think it was fake love though? He was acting for that whole day.
That just was how he was. I tell you, he was a person that did not like blacks.
So he never grew out of that, because a lot of people who
never. And we loved our granddad.
How did he How did he behave or treat your father?
He didn't like my dad. He said my dad was too black, because my dad is from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. That's right, Baton Rouge.
Yeah, Baton Rouge.
And my dad was very dark with that beautiful olive complexion and black wavy hair. Handsome. But he never liked my dad. To the day he checked out.
Man,
Wow.
that's not.
Yeah,
That's what.
But we could go over there and he would hug us and he would give us money to go to the store, and he actually told us he loved us. So it was a very obscure relationship.
I think he was just warring with himself to truly be able to open up and extend his heart, because of, the way he's brought up. He's conditioned until you come along 30, 40 years later. Now he's warring with himself.
He never changed.
That's just who he was.
That's just who he was. And my grandmother, he thought she was white because she could have passed for white. She was so fair with beautiful hair. And he was, when he got out of the Navy at 19, he was a chef. And he went to work at the father, Henry Ford, the very first, at his mansion as a cook. So I forget how he met my grandmother, but he fell in love with her instantly. So when he went over there and saw that she's got dark sisters and she's black, she's not white, I said, well, what happened? And he was so smitten by her that he just whisked her away. And they got married and had 2 daughters, and that was that. So I have always been, even traveling with my dad as an evangelist, we would go to cities where white children had never seen a black person. And, after church, we would go there for dinner, and they would just sit and stare at us. But my mom she had already told us how to act. If it's something on your plate you don't like, you don't have to eat it, but you don't say, I don't want that, And so I was very well, myself and my brothers, we were very well trained. And again, with the outfits, my mother would call ahead. She would get in the yellow pages back then, and or however she did, and look for clothing stores, children's clothing stores. And when we got to that city, we went right to that store, and my mother was picking out outfits, for the next, city that my dad was preaching at.
I got it.
Go ahead.
No, I like how you describe your family, especially your mother, taking pride into the appearance
Absolutely.
of how you and your family, because we don't have that anymore. Because today it's like anything goes nowadays.
Yeah.
Back then, when you look at old pictures, even with my family, everybody was well groomed, nice look. Even on Sunday, when they were going to a baseball game sometimes, suits, hats, women with dresses and stuff like that. I just want to know, what do you think happened within the family structure, especially in the black community, why it's not like that anymore?
I would say there's a lot, the drama with having children out of wedlock, the baby mama, the baby daddy. This put a stigma on us. You have white people who have, daughters and sons that have had children out of wedlock, and they don't call their kids' father baby daddy, or baby mama. And I don't do it. I say, well, this is my daughter's father, or the father of, you know what I'm saying? And so with me, when I was coming up, there was families.
Villages.
Yeah.
I do got a question. I kind of want to fast forward. I know you said you moved back to Detroit. I just want to know, was this during like the 80s when unfortunately the crack era occurred? And if so,
Well, no, that was when I was, younger.
no, I'm saying, were
Okay.
you in Detroit when the
With
oh no, you were. So what are you saying? You were not.
this was growing up.
No, that moment that you're speaking of.
What was that?
No, I'm talking about the crack when drugs came into the cities heavy.
right,
I'm just want to know, were you a resident of Detroit?
Oh yeah.
So what was that? What was that era like?
It terrible. Terrible.
Like even your close friends were affected. Everybody, family.
No one. It was my children. Some of their schoolmates.
Okay.
My eldest daughter, two of her friends died from drugs overdose, and I watched them grow up. And so it was things like that I realized how really bad this was. Because I think I was about 15 or 16, and it was this really, really popular roller rink called the Arcadia it was down on Woodward. And it was it was a violent, you better know how to skate. You better know how to skate.
What you mean if you fall into somebody?
You better not fall. You get ran over like a locomotive.
Like
It was
Cascade.
notorious. But they were doing peels in there. They were passing peels around, and these were older, like 18, 19, 20. They were coming down there skating and getting high.
Now, I never knew the answer to this question, but roughly how long did, I guess, the crack epidemic last? Was it years? I'm sure it was.
It was some years. I can't tell you how many years, but I do know that there were people in my community that were strung out on it.
Now, would you say it started probably around when Coleman Young got elected?
I don't know.
You want to know? Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
Because the reason why I say that, because, everybody want to talk about Coleman Young, the YBI, and all them when they came in, and the Chambers brothers when they came into town.
Well, my nephew was a YBI or whatever you call it, Young Boys Incorporated, and he's still in prison. I understand that he'll be getting out soon, but that was a terrible time for our black boys, and the shootings, the killings. I've even seen where they went after moms,
Well, that's probably when the street codes start falling apart, because
Yeah,
usually you don't go after mom.
Yeah, they did.
And they had the battle ram during that time.
I'm calling it gangsta. Okay.
So you remember when gangster rap first started?
Oh yeah.
You mind talking about that, like how it became what it was?
Well, you had NWA, and then you had Dr. Dre, and when they came about, I was contacted about the Chronic album. And I listened to it, and I'm like, oh my God, what the heck, And then I had an interview with NWA at the Olympia. Something happened, and they got him out of there.
With the police?
No, I don't know what was going on. I don't know what was going on, but they didn't do the show.
Okay.
They couldn't. They wouldn't let them do the show. Probably, some threats or whatnot.
I wonder. No, you said they didn't do the
They
show
did
at all.
not.
They never went on stage.
At all.
Okay.
At all.
I thought this was the famous concert they did where they got kicked off the stage for that song.
No, this is when they first started. When they first started out, and they had a show here at Cobo, and I remember we were in the back lot, and all of a sudden they just whisked them out, put them in a limo, and that was it. I'm like, well, what happened? But I'm thinking that it was threats. It was some threats because a lot of people didn't like them.
So you've never interviewed you only interview artists, no actual.
No,
just
I
gangsters.
I did groups.
No, I meant like gangsters, like somebody who's just in.
No, I didn't do. I was getting out of that after
Okay.
that gangster rap. I didn't want any part of that.
Okay.
No.
So you never met people like Tupac or nobody like
No, I didn't. Mm-mm. And it's not that I'm, oh, I didn't do Tupac or I didn't do that era there. I did not want to be associated with because that's not me.
Right.
You know, um, you know, the playful rap, Cool Mo D, like that, Ice T, but not that second bout.
That wave of but it was still good guys sprinkled in throughout that era. I can't think of some right now, but
I mean, you had, one thing I can remember talking about Public Enemy, like you said with Flavor Flav.
Oh yeah, but see now, they were conscious rappers,
first,
and
not
I mean,
always.
I had to really, listen to the lyrics, cause they were. I mean, look, they were ahead of their time. They were ahead of their time.
Sometimes, when I'm in the gym, one of my playlists was Flavor Flav, I Can't Do Nothing For You, Man. That's my favorite. That's my favorite song from him.
Yeah. And when I interviewed Flav too. I forgot to tell you that. I did get an interview with him. He is so intelligent. No one would ever think what they do now because he's coming out more. He plays classical piano. He's doing a lot of things.
I seen that.
No one would ever believe how intelligent and articulate that man is. He is so smart. So smart. And he had some he had been misunderstood because when you're out there with your big clock and acting silly or whatever, people misinterpret you as being stupid and dumb. But when he got that show, they were like, oh, okay, Flavor of Love. That showed a different side of him. And I was so proud to know that what I already knew, you're going to be something. You're not done yet. You're not, jumping off the stage and clowning. You're going to go further, much further than that.
He sure did prove it.
Yeah, he did. He proved it to the world. Yeah.
I also want to know too. I was reading up on you, and like I said, like you were saying before, you did voiceovers and stuff like that. How you get into that?
From Spec Howard's basically. I always, again, my dad was he was a public speaker. He was a pastor and evangelist. My mom spoke well. We all did. But my mother was big on diction and tone, okay? And so my daughter bought me a book when I started attending Spec Howard, voiceover, how to be a voiceover artist. And I read it and I'm like, I can do that, And then I was voicing commercials anyway inside the scene and the new dance show and different little things, doing commercials for, different local businesses. But I hadn't perfected it. And so I went in the bio, you have read that I met the late Brady Keys. And he was like, he was trying to navigate through these Burger Kings here in the city, and they were struggling, okay? But he needed, and he told me the kind of voice, what he wanted. And he said, you think you could do that? And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And so I did the Burger King commercial. The one on 8 Mile. Mm-hmm. I think it's still there. And
8 Mile and what? Burger King? 8 Mile?
8 Mile. Well, they redid it, but it was on 8 Mile right here by not too far from.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's right around the corner. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
If y'all know, y'all know.
So I did it, and it turned out really good. Mm. And then from there, he wanted me to do his Kentucky Fried Chicken commercials. Well, he had a bunch of them down south. And so I did those. And then, I'm like, I kind of like this, So when I went to Spec Howard's, that's why I said, well, maybe I'll do radio. I couldn't make up my mind. And so I ended up in Spec Howard's in the radio segments doing broadcasting. And my teacher, he says, you have a good voice. He said, you have a good voice for news. And so that's when I started really perfecting my craft. Because heck, that's what I'm in here for. You know what I'm saying? So I got to make it work. And so that's how I got started in voicing. And I love doing it. Yeah.
Now, I did want to know, have you ever lost any footage, interview or anything that y'all recorded and a flood or something might happen and y'all just lose it?
It's so funny you say that. My garage is full of tapes and interviews. And I haven't lost a one. Those big broadcast tapes.
I know what you're talking about.
See them?
I know what you're talking about. Those metal ones with the, yeah.
No. These are plastic. Well, they're in a big case.
The case is metal, but
Then
then
the real,
film is on the inside.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Loaded. I have had companies call me looking for Detroit material, on artist interviews or whatever. But you don't want to pay me. I'm not going to give you anything because you wouldn't do that for me.
Yeah, it got to be business.
When MTV came out, I was supposed to do an interview with Kid Rock. I think he might have been 16, 17, something like that. And it was an interview that didn't happen. I don't know what happened, but it didn't happen. And so MTV called R.J. Watkins, called his production company to get my number. And he called me and he says, he was going to keep it guarded. You know what I'm saying? Because guess what? I did have the segment inside of his show. So if I get any residuals, then he would, respectfully would be a part of that. Right. I would think. And so when he called, he says, well, MTV called, they want the interview that you did with Kid Rock. I said, well, it never happened.
Right.
I never got the interview. He's, and then then I started getting more calls. They wanted footage on some of the Detroit rappers. Detroit Most Wanted, Awesome Dre. And I'm like, again, no. I'm not going to say, well, how much are you going to pay me? I'm too much of a lady to do that and a businesswoman. If you don't present it to me, if you never said, well, look, this is how we want to do this, here's a contract, here's some paper. You never said that. Mm-hmm. So it's a no.
Right.
But is that why they should speak to your people and your people just present it? Like, hey, what do we get, a percentage?
They called me.
Yeah, that's true.
They called me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And this was at a time to where all the people were gone because there was no one really but myself and my partner at the time. Mm-hmm. And so we did all of this. So he's gone, and so that leaves me. So right. I would be the contact person. Mm-hmm. But again, you have to come correct. You're a big company. You want what I have. I have what you want.
And like you said, they called you like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, can I, yeah. I understand you got this. Yeah, I do. But you never talk dollars and cents. This is valuable to me. It's keepsake. This is my baby. This is what I did. This is my career. Do you really think I'm just going to hand it over to you? No.
Well, you know what they say. If it don't make dollars,
it don't make sense.
There you go.
You got it.
You've
been around a while. You're an old spirit.
Kid Rock, he used to go around town with a guy named Champ Town. Did you ever interview him? You don't know him? Okay. I was just wondering.
Now, I do have a question for you, a little off topic. If anybody wanted to follow in your footsteps and do what you do, what some advice would you give them?
Well, a couple of them have. And they didn't want the advice. They just wanted to be me. And there's more to doing what I do than just trying to emulate me. You cannot, I can't be duplicated, first of all. The energy and the work that I put in being Cold Medina, it just didn't come. It was connections. God connected those dots, you know. So if you are not on a certain spiritual level, I would say, then you're just running ahead trying to do something that is not even purposeful for you. So, what I would say to anyone, and my grandson speaks very well, and he's very talented. And he asks me a lot of questions, and we talk. And the advice I give to him is always be yourself. Find you inside of you. There's 2 or 3 yous inside of you, that one body. Find each one that goes along with what you want to do. Locate it. If you want to be an actor, locate that character in you, the character that you could be. Locate it, because it's down there. If you want to be a journalist, and that's something that I found that I really wanted to do, because I like researching and I'm nosy in a good way. And so if you that's something you want to do, find that journalism in you. And I watch a lot. I'm always on CNN, Fox News. I'm always tuning in to people who interview, you know. I'm looking at how they do. And I never said I want to be like Barbara Walters, even though I admired her to the fullest. I admire Oprah, but they all have their own style, you know, and you can't duplicate them. You can't. Barbara Walters, she did her thing and she's gone. There is no more. And so I would say just find yourself. First, find out if this is what your purpose is. Why chase your tail all your life?
Facts. And also, I just want to know one more thing. I remember you were talking about you were into acting and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You never thought about being in movies, or have you been in movies?
I've never been in a movie except the movie of my life. It's a lifetime. It's a lifetime story. And but no, I have not. And I would love to try my hand at that. I'm trying to figure out what kind of role would I want to play. Would I want to play a boss? You know, a woman. Could you see that?
Yeah.
Oh, I could see that.
With a fur coat around.
Oh,
fur around.
Oh my God, yes.
I gotta know, what's your favorite movie?
Oh, wow. Ooh.
Or top 3.
Well, I'm going to tell you who my favorite actress is first.
Tell us.
And that's Joan Crawford.
I know the name.
I know the name. I can't.
Man, let me tell you something.
What is she acting, if you don't mind?
She did a movie with Betty Davis, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. That is my favorite all-time movie. And when you get a chance, look it up and watch it. Just the characters. It just a fantastic movie. Because I'm into old movies. My more current movie that I liked is Fences with Denzel Washington and Viola Davis. And I've watched that 3 times in the last 4 months.
The Joan Crawford looks familiar.
She do.
Oh, she's a great actor.
Now, do you plan on going to see Sinners?
You know, I've heard about that. You know, some black movies don't do anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
This one might. You might.
He's seen it.
Did you see it?
I liked it.
You liked it though.
I don't want to give too much out, but I personally enjoyed it because I look at symbolism in movies, and I saw a lot of symbolism and messages. Me though, the way I perceived it. So, but what genre do you typically like to watch?
I like drama and suspense movies, but I'll tell you, it was a movie. Oh my God, with I think his name Get Out.
Okay.
Yeah,
Jordan Peele.
That
Peele.
look, let me tell you something. I watched it on when it came on TV, on one of the cable things or whatever you want to call it. And that was such a good movie. It was deep. It made you think.
This
It-
one,
it-
Sinners is kind of
it like
there.
that?
It's kind of.
Okay.
If I had to weigh the two, which is better, I would still say probably Get Out, but Sinners is good for separate reasons.
Okay.
You might like it.
So it stimulates your brain. It makes
If you watch stuff and you see other things, other symbolism, you might like it. I just check it out. You might like.
Well, my thing is, what can I when I look at movies, what can I walk away with?
Right.
You know, what am I learning from this? You know
I see
what I'm
what you're
saying? It has to be something that I can apply in a positive way to me, and for what I'm about.
So did you ever see the movie Law Abiding Citizen?
No,
Okay, that's another one you may like. Also, it's Jamie Foxx is in it, and
and I love Jamie Foxx.
yeah.
Oh, Ray.
Right.
Oh,
that's a
Yeah,
good.
that's a
Look.
good one too.
That's a good one.
I've watched that movie so many times. I mean, come on. But but you know, wait a minute. Let's back this thing up. The Godfather,
Which
Which one?
I never seen it.
1 and 2. And I even liked the last one.
That's what I'm talking about right
Boom.
there. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Hey,
I've
hey.
never watched it.
No,
Now,
God, you learn a lot in the
that Godfather-
Hey, that's a bad.
You can apply that to every hater. Mm-hmm. Okay? Anybody who comes with you gossiping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
You know what? I gotta say this. It was a deleted scene, but you remember in one, Sonny always had problems with Connie's husband because he was abusive. It was a deleted scene out of there. He was talking with his father, Don Vito Corleone, and they heard him in the background arguing. And when not Vito, but when Sonny was getting ready to get up and then get in between them, Vito said, "No, sit down. Don't you ever get involved with another man's wife. That'll get you killed." And that's exactly what happened.
They shouldn't have deleted
Wow.
that scene. If that,
They shouldn't have, because it made too much sense.
Wow. I'm telling you, that movie today, I see so many things. Well, let's put it like this. If you're dealing in the corporate world, you can find a lot of key points in there.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay?
Now, can I ask you this? Now, TV series. Do you watch or are you into stuff like Game of Thrones?
No.
Have
Not
you?
at all.
You know? I'm just saying because that show deals a lot with strategy and how to play the game. Yeah, it got its moments where it could be, to the left, but it teaches you how to think, how the enemy thinks, and how to win.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd rather play chess.
Okay. Well,
And I don't play chess. But my grandson, he's a chess, he's really good.
have you
It's
ever
like
read
chess on
40 Laws
TV.
of Power? Have you ever read the book 40 Laws of Power? Okay, it's similar. Game of Thrones and other TV shows like even the show Power, kind of similar.
I have watched Power.
Yeah, I've never watched it either. I don't know. If I can relate. You don't like
that
it?
ain't that your thing?
That show, I don't. that
Is it good? I can't tell what you saying.
I'm talking about when it first came on. The first episodes before before the dad was killed.
Yes.
I'm telling you, because my grandsons were, always watching it on their iPad or their phone or something like that. And I'm like, what are you all watching, And I found it on TV, and I started watching it. I did a binge watch. I'm like, oh my God, they don't need to be looking at this kind of stuff. Because it was very, very deep, very dark.
But sometimes, well, in my opinion, I feel like I don't know how old you say your kids or your sons or grandsons?
My grandsons are
When they watch the show.
16 and 18.
That's a good
So
age.
they
in my
were
opinion.
they weren't 16 and 18 then though. They were 14, 15.
I still feel like they're I don't know. I feel like that's a good age to watch. I've never watched the show, so I really don't know what they
Right.
saw, but I feel like that's
Well, it was a lot of shooting, a lot of killing.
it makes them tougher though versus in my opinion, somebody who's never witnessed violence, they walking up the street, violence happens, they're gonna go crazy. But somebody who's kind of numb to it, they won't react, in my opinion.
So let me ask you this: if you don't like that show, that means you don't like shows like Snowfall either.
I don't like snowfall. I didn't get anything out of that. But to what you were saying about
Numb, going up.
yeah, look, you have kids that boys and girls who are sheltered, and my boys they were sheltered. My son is grown now, but he was sheltered.
Sheltered, but not coddled, though, right? I just want.
No, never coddled.
Okay, okay.
Never
'Cause
coddled.
that could still raise. You could still raise a good.
right. But a neighbor, because I wanted my son to meet and socialize with the kids on the block, but not be a part of them. You know, when they get to wanting to do something stupid, you be like, oh, I got to go home. My mama, I know she got this fantastic dinner. I got to go home and eat, or I got to go home and do this. So that was his escape route.
Got you.
Okay. But this one young man, I don't know what happened, but my son marched in the house and we had a bat that was upstairs in a storage room. And I saw him whisk by me with this bat. And he's never, I don't ever believe him ever having a fight with anybody. Because everybody, you know, he was just that guy. Mm-hmm. And I'm running, what are you doing? What are you doing with the bat? I'm gonna hit you. I said, no. Come here. That's not how you handle it. But mama, I said, it's not going down like that. Because that's somebody's son too. And no mom wants to be sitting in ICU with their son being brain damaged from you hitting him in the head with a bat and then you're in juvenile. It's not going down like that. So I explained to, once I found out what it was, something stupid, then they talked about it and got it together. Okay? And my son, he had, moved out of the neighborhood, went on, did his, with his career and whatever. But whenever he came back, everybody respect him. And it was, it was just, he got out alive. He went and made something out of himself. You know what I'm saying? So even though you have boys or girls who live sheltered life and they just stumble up on somebody who wants to bother them, you better watch out because they will kill you.
Yeah, because you don't know
They
how
will
somebody's
go
going to react.
nuts on you.
Yeah, they'll react. Yeah.
Especially nowadays, since we got a culture that encourages that type of behavior.
Yeah.
And it's so sad too because I'm seeing more and more videos online about young men going to jail.
Yeah.
And not even knowing the reality on when you get behind bars that you're here.
And it's
no
funny that
great
you
equalizer.
should mention that because with the Raps Corner show, there was some inmates, lifers, because this was called the Lifers Group. And at 17, they were never come out of there. And so somebody contacted Raps Corner and wanted to send the video. They were allowed to do a video in there, and they sent it to me. And oh my God, it was so emotional.
The video was
Not
about
the video. The video wasn't emotional. It was the circumstances that these young men will never, ever come out of those prison walls. Okay? So what I did, I took that video and went around to some of the schools, and they sent me books. They sent me a case of books because they were writing in there, And I went around to different high schools, and I campaigned against drugs, alcohol. Remember when the 40 ounces, everybody stand on the corner with a 40
I was a kid, but I remember that.
Okay. I walked around with a photographer. One day we were at the Fox Theater, and a young man was shot and killed right on the ground, right down the street from the theater. And he was just laying there, and I had my photographer. I said, don't shoot his face. But he was shot in the groin, and he bled to death. And the police, I mean, heck, 10 minutes in, we're downtown on Woodward. When is the police going to get here? And so we left. I had that picture blown up, poster size. And I went around. I bought 40 ounces. It was the Old English. Then it was the Colt 45 malt liquor. I did an entire research on it. What was the ingredients? How it affected our minds and our brains and in the community, what it was doing to us. And I went to King High School. I went with the video. And I went with an arsenal. Because I want you kids to understand what's really going on out here.
It's a war.
I think I do remember something like that. Did you go around pouring out the 40 ounce? It was
You know what? I don't even remember that part of it. But
yeah, because they was going around pouring out 40 ounces just to prove a statement. Like, look, you don't want to be drinking.
Don't do it.
Do you
And
still-
that probably was.
Do you still got that video? Because I would love to watch
The
it.
lifers, no, I don't.
Okay.
I don't have it. I'm going to check and see, and I'm going to do it too.
Okay. Because I'm
If
subscribed.
you could probably Google it and see. They were
called
in
what?
Rikers Island.
And what is the video called?
It was the lifers group.
The Lifers Group.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I think I can remember vividly. I was a kid when it happened, but I think I saw that on the news. They did like a short story about that, and it showed the kids pouring out 40 ounces to show everybody. Look,
Let me tell you something. I wasn't playing. And there was a teacher, and he was white. He was a white teacher, but I have an auditorium full of black children, okay? And I was very serious about what I was doing, okay? I'm not in here playing. And so he went and told the principal or somebody that my content was too graphic. These kids are 16 and 17 years old. What are you talking about?
But come on, you just said power though.
Exactly.
You just said power though. You didn't want your grandson.
Okay.
He was watching Power.
So he took the video out. He walked over to me and told me I had to leave. I said, not a problem. And I had a young man from the community that had been shot a few times and had dealt drugs, and he went with me.
So it's like the DARE program, kind of. It's like the DARE program, kind of. Y'all just going around talking to kids.
I was
Or Scared Straight, kind of.
yeah, you could say that,
Yeah.
But that was the only Detroit public high school that I did, because I was out in Inkster, E-Course. I was out that way. I don't know why God led me out to those schools.
So you're an activist also.
Oh yeah,
You
always.
didn't put that in the
Well,
I mean,
so many titles.
community.
Yeah.
community, outreach and everything.
Yeah, I have spoken to women who were on methadone, and they methadone or whatever they call it. And I went over to the Met Clinic, which was in Detroit on Harper. Okay, and this was like early '90s. And these women had children. Some of them were pregnant taking this stuff. And so they were all in the room and whatever. And I told them, I says, look, I can just imagine. I said, I want you to get this visual. You're at home in bed. You get the sweats. You know you got to send your kids off to school in a couple of hours. They got to go to school. But you don't care. Because you got to get over here and get that cup with that orange poison in it and get yourself together.
Now, what was Mec supposed to do?
It was supposed to calm the drugs, calm it down, but it was only boosting the effects of being on it.
So you get double addicted almost.
Yeah, you really do.
It's like alcohol with pills.
That's crazy.
And they were all sitting there crying, and I said, look, I'm not judging you. I could be you sitting there. I'm not judging you, but I will tell you that's poison. You get off of one drug, and now you on methadone or whatever you want to call it. Now you got to beat that. And I said, and the cycle just keeps going on. Who's taking care of your kids? Who's
Tell them what's
feeding
it
them?
doing to you in the long
Yeah.
term also. You never know.
Yep.
And I said, I don't ever want to come back here and see you sitting there or seeing you sit there. I want you to get yourself there. And then the owner of the place, because he's getting the
The money from the
Okay.
kickbacks. Yeah.
I need you to leave.
Now he come.
I said, I've been put out of better places, sir.
That's wild.
Especially, yeah.
That's wild.
The people who are really making changes, they the ones who get silenced or kicked out of.
Well,
establishment.
I always say, I'm anointed, and I know I am. And I'm going to always do what God needs me to do. Okay? Everything that has transpired in my life, I didn't do it. God put people in my path along the way to do my platform is only for praise. And I get a little churchy in there too. That's why I have my other show called According to His Purpose. Because I have interviewed young men who have done 16, 17 years in there and have came out and have done great things. Yeah, we all make mistakes and make bad decisions, but this does not define who you are.
You know, you telling these stories from the past. People really don't really know or understand how wild those times were back in those days.
Yeah.
People really didn't know.
Absolutely.
Wasn't no social media.
No social media. And so, if there was no social media for me doing what I'm doing, what some people say, well, how could God be in it and it's rap music but look at the content. It wasn't, that's why I didn't want to do gangster rap and all that other stuff. But everything leads you somewhere. And it led me to doing a show that he gave me that according to his purpose. That's strong, And everybody I interviews have gone through something critical. People put them down. You'll never be this. You'll never be that. And they get on there and they tell their story. And sometimes I have to hold the tears back. But everybody has a purpose.
Right.
And I have lived mine. I'm still living it. And I just thank God to be, I'm grateful for where I am. And there's never been an age barrier for me, okay, because I'm ancient. But I thank God that He has allowed me to reach this pinnacle in life. And then I'm looking at the two of you, and I'm just, wow. It's a privilege to see you two together doing what you do. It's so positive.
Well, thank you. We really do appreciate that.
And guess what? You're going to be bigger than life. You're going to be bigger than life. Watch. I assure you. What you're doing now, it's good. But
it's always
all these people that are doing these podcasts, that it doesn't mean a thing. It's not uplifting. It's not taking you anywhere. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Your platform is totally different. You care. You care about the development of people. You care about culture. Okay?
Yes, that's true.
So you guys are great.
Now, I do want to know, you said according to his purpose, where can people find that?
It's on YouTube.
It's a separate channel from...
What do you mean
separate channel from the corner? Is it on?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is, because you can type in according to his purpose with Marie Nelson.
Okay.
And all the episodes will pop up, and then you can go and you can type in Rap's Corner with Cold Medina, and then you get that show.
Now, I do have one more question for you. Now, you personally, what are you doing nowadays, personally and professionally? What do you do in your spare time?
Well, I am a licensed foster care parent.
Okay.
I am a caregiver. I take care, and I take good care of family members who have health issues, and that's full time. And then just my normal, doing my shows, research, some, trying to get a break when I can to take some time out for me. Of course, shopping, of course that. But that's pretty much, in my church services on Sunday, and I go to two, so I'm on tour. Even with church, you can never get enough teaching, and that keeps me grounded. Keeps me grounded. So yeah.
Okay.
I do got a question. I saw your interview with I'm sorry, I saw your picture with Run DMC. Was that on Bill Al?
That was in Pontiac. It was some part.
Pontiac?
In fact, they're going to tear that venue down in Pontiac. It's where they had all the different
It's not no it
acts and stuff. It was right out there.
right downtown. It can't be there. It couldn't have been there.
No, it wasn't
That
downtown.
wasn't-
What was the name of it? I know it was in Pontiac.
It's probably that park. I think I know where you.
Yeah,
looking
it
at-
was a park.
I'm looking at
definitely.
the picture right here. This right here.
Mm-hmm.
That
I
background.
think I know where it is.
very
It's a park
familiar.
over there
It's a
where a lot
park.
of people go sledding at because it's a real good hill. If that's the only place I could think, it probably was that.
I love that interview.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like a very chill interview, especially that venue right there.
Now, what
Yeah.
interview? My final question to you: what interview were you shocked by? Just for
What?
what interview were you shocked by for whatever reason? Maybe the person showed up drunk or super professional, not what you expected.
I never. I don't think I've ever had that kind.
Ever
of,
had that? Okay.
No.
Because I'm looking at your pictures right here. You have a lot of history with a lot of legendary people. The one I'm looking at interests me the most is the MC Light one.
Oh, that's my baby. I remember on her 18th birthday. Well, the first interview I did with her was on the phone, and that we talked to her dad, and she was coming up here to do some promotions for her album, and she had just bought a new car and she wanted rims, and so we took her to a rim shop here in Detroit. And they were gold rims. They had them shipped down. Somebody stole the rims off her car.
It's Detroit.
She did
Welcome
not
to
here.
Detroit.
Not
Oh,
here.
it wasn't here.
Not here. And where she's from. And they stole the rims off.
Oh, so she bought them here and they.
Yeah, they shipped them down there, and they
Man.
stole her rims. But a beautiful, beautiful girl, just sweet.
I like her cheekbones.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so good to see her, how she developed and came full circle and doing those shows and these award shows. I'm like, look at her.
Now I know you met KRS-One. Did you ever get to meet Roxanne Shante?
I'd never met her.
Never met her?
And Chris, oh my God, you want to get some real cultural learning,
Man, yeah.
and you want to learn about hip hop. It's like he is like a walking encyclopedia.
The South Bronx. South Bronx.
I was like, it's not enough time with you.
Yeah.
And this was away from the interview, but just spending time with him. And then Curtis Blow, Curtis spent the night. I mean, I had to feed him. He, something happened, he missed his flight. And he slept right on my couch. And we talked, it was him, my daughters, we talked. We went all the way back to his first recording. We went back, oh my God, unbelievable. Unbelievable, the history. I just wish I had recorded everything so I could play it back and listen to it all over again.
Man.
Such a sweet man.
I'm looking at the one with you and Hammer right here. I could tell, yeah, yeah.
Well, Hammer put me in his video. He was so appreciative of me working with him and really blowing him up in this market. This is a tough market. It's rough. They either love you or they hate you.
So your interviews went national or Midwest or what all did it? I feel like national.
These, I don't know. There was local interviews,
Okay.
but they all got copies of the shows. So it was something that they could always look back on. But everything I did was local. I just interviewed
it's
local
gonna expand
and
beyond.
national. Yeah.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah, these were the days I see. But yeah, I could talk to you. We could talk all day. We
Yeah.
could go to
And I don't want to leave out Houdini.
Houdini.
They when they were here, they were at the Fox, and I remember they invited us on the tour bus, and we sat there and we talked, and we drove around up and down Woodward just so that they can take in all the sights. And when two of them passed away, I'm like, wow. Because I remember when, Salt and Pepper, we hung out. They wanted to go out. They didn't want to just go back to the hotel. They wanted to hang out and party. So it was this club over on Livernois. I can't even think of the name there. It's long gone. And they closed it down. At 2:00, everybody had to get out. Salt and Pepper in here. Open the bar up. Everybody's gonna have a good time. And we danced and just had a good time for a couple of hours. And they went on back to the hotel. But this is the kind, when I say relationships, okay? This is the kind of relationships you want. You don't want the Diddy stuff. You don't want that.
Whatever that means.
You want relationships with artists where they respect you and you respect them, And so, and that Diddy stuff, I'm just so devastated by that. That's something that just should not ever happen to anyone, but it did. And same thing with R. Kelly, who I love R. Kelly. But when you're in this business, you have to be careful.
Be a stand-up person.
You have to have prayer around you. You have to pray and ask God to help you navigate through all the wolves. I can just imagine, when I was 16 and I was dancing and, doing shows, and there were artists coming after me. And if my mama wasn't with me, who was, like a stage mom, hey, get back, don't. So it's always been going on, and I just survived it. I did. I married a Motown musician. We did a lot of great things together. Inside of, because my first two kids are like Motown babies. Because a lot of the artists, Dennis Edwards, before he got with the Contour, with the Temptations, he had to go with me and my husband at that time because my physician was 2 doors down from Motown. So they were going to my doctor's visits because they had to go to rehearsals, and they didn't have cars. And so at that time, my husband was picking them up, and he said, well, look, man, my wife got to go, she got to go to the OBGYN for her. I never will forget it. Oh my God. And so my 2 kids were labeled Motown babies.
Because they grew up in kind of...
because when they were born, we were over there at a lot of the musicians' homes, like the Marvelettes, the Velvelettes, all of them. One of them had a baby, and they were all over to one of their husbands' houses, and I had my little baby there. So it was just family, family. So
I do got one final question for you, if you don't mind. I just want to know your thoughts of these 2 music groups. The first is the Isley Brothers. Just their music or anything about them, just your thoughts of them.
Oh, I love the Isley Brothers. Forever loved them. Yeah. Grew up on them. So that won't change. That's a great group.
Is that the same with Earth, Wind, and Fire?
That's going to be my next one.
My bad.
Love Earth, Wind, and Fire. I never could understand the bass player that jumps around all over
With the
everywhere.
diaper on? The guy with the diaper?
No.
that was,
No,
Joe
you're talking about...
That's Funkadelic.
You talking? Oh yeah, I'm talking about Funkadelic. I'm sorry. You talking about the dude with the big head?
Oh, does he have a big head? I don't know.
To me,
well,
I got a big head.
Yeah, he was the more active.
With the long,
He got locked.
Because he had
Yeah,
perm.
yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know his name. I can't think
But
of it right now.
love them. Cool in the Gang. Interviewed them. I loved them.
What about Sly?
Never met him.
Never met Sly.
Never met him. Never interviewed. No.
I cannot think that dude name from Earth, Wind, and Fire, and I know it.
I gotta look him
can't
up
think
because
of
his
it.
name on the tip of
It
my
got a
tongue.
V in it.
I think
Verdine or
he
something.
Verdine.
Yeah.
There
Okay,
you go.
yeah, okay.
Verdine something.
There you go.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, them, hey, great group. I still listen to
Oh
Earth.
yeah,
Hey,
all the time. Yeah.
they're on my workout playlist right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was gonna ask what songs you listen to.
Who's talking about me and her?
Yeah, no, to you. What songs you listen to?
Well, Earth, Wind, and Fire?
Yeah, while you work out.
Well,
That's
one of
what-
my favorite Earth, Wind, and Fire songs is called Brazilian Rhyme. Anybody remember that one?
No.
Brazilian Rhyme.
Oh yeah.
That one.
I
probably gotta
like
hear it,
like
can I-
feelings.
Happy.
Happy feelings.
I thought
or
that was
something like
Maze.
that. No.
No.
They
yeah.
have a-
Okay, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what about yours? You said you missed the question and answer. What you got?
Oh man, Isley Brothers are
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
What is it? September, I think it is.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
September.
Yeah.
I like September. And Isley Brothers is.
Well, I don't think they ever made one song off of all the albums that they have made a bad song.
Nah.
They all have been good.
yeah.
I can't think. And you know, it's so timeless too because I remember Beyonce did a remake of "Make Me Say It Again" with Ron Isley. They recently made another song, a remake of that one.
Yeah, I heard that. Well, I'm not, and not knocking her. I'm just not a female vocalist person. You know what I'm saying? I
still think the original.
Wait.
I mean,
Repeat that. You
the,
don't
the
like.
female artists like Mary, like Beyonce. Like I'm just not a fan of female artists necessarily.
Is there a reason
okay?
why?
That's interesting.
Just never.
I like guys.
Okay.
I'm just,
all right.
you know.
It's a reason.
It's
It's-
nothing,
Yeah,
there's
I'm
nothing
just,
wrong with
they're
that.
not
preference.
singing about something that you know.
so it's the subject matter and not the voices more.
The voices are okay. I'm just their content. Mary is okay. There was a couple of
I
songs
gotta ask Whitney
that
Houston.
I
then.
like.
Whitney Houston.
No, I'm just not. You know.
I can understand what you say. It's your preference.
Yeah.
That's just what you like.
So
Because I just learned that one song that Whitney Houston sang about was about a married man, giving all my love to you.
it might be.
And so I heard the song yesterday.
But she
on
didn't
the
write most
radio.
of her music though, so it's different when you don't write the music. You're just
No,
singing
I'm just
something they
saying.
hit. Okay.
It content in lyrics mean a lot to me. You know what I'm
I
saying?
could tell one of your favorite artists has to be Marvin Gaye then.
Oh, well, you already
Because he has good content. He talks about what's really happening.
absolutely.
And in his voice.
What about
Now you see why I say
what about Michael Jackson?
I love Michael Jackson.
No, I
I don't have no posters on my wall though, but
I do want to know, who do you feel like Hollywood should make a biopic about? Because they never did one with Marvin Gaye. They never did one with I can't think of the other guy.
I think they need to leave it alone.
Yeah, I
Biopics?
agree. I agree.
I think they need
I
to.
agree.
I watched the
Wow.
other night Cynthia Revo with the Aretha. No, some things just leave it alone.
No, I'm saying, but sometimes if they put money behind it and they care, you might get another Ray movie.
I don't even like the guy who's trying. What's his name? October somebody. This sounds
October London?
great. Yeah, this sounds a great deal like Marvin Gaye. No.
They known to messing up biopics ever since Ray. Like case in example, look what they did with Jimi Hendrix. Look what they did with Miles Davis.
But that's what I say, if you care
they-
and you got people
But see,
behind it.
that's the problem. They don't care. They don't want another movie like Ray.
Because I think a good one
Now
would be.
Ray was good, but I just think you why duplicate? Just take footage of an artist and just do a documentary. Because I watch documentaries all day long. I saw one with Al Green, Miles Davis, all these You don't need someone to portray the person that was great, because you just won't come close. Now, Jamie Foxx, I mean, he nailed it, but a lot of that music, that was Ray Charles singing too,
Yeah.
but he did, that's one of the best portrayals that I have ever seen.
Yeah, that's in the top 3 biopic for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Besides the Temptations.
I hated that movie.
You didn't like the Temptations?
The movie?
Yeah, the movie.
No.
Well,
No.
can I ask why? I know you were there, but
I didn't like the actors. I didn't like how they look, because I know them.
Right.
I grew up with them. I know them personally.
right. Okay.
And
The actors or the actual. Okay, never mind.
What?
You knew the Temptations.
She knew the real.
Okay, so
Temptations,
you said the actors. I knew them personally. That's
No.
Okay.
The actors, that's separate. I knew the Temptations personally.
Okay.
Yeah,
A lot of
okay.
the even Tammy Terrell. I mean, all these people have been a part of my life.
Okay.
I don't want to see, because I know them, I don't want to see somebody pretend. The guy who did Otis, please, that is not Otis.
You're too close to the trees to see the forest, as they would
I'm
say.
sorry.
But
No, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just,
But I'm just saying,
it's-
I
it's-
didn't like how they looked. I didn't know.
But see, that's good for people like me because I wasn't there. I mean,
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
you know,
some people's
wasn't
stories
there.
need to be told, or for maybe
But
not.
you have a lot of footage. Just do a doc.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want anybody to portray me when I'm dead and gone.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, somebody's going to do a Cold Medina because they're going to search out. It's the culture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
They show stories.
But nobody can do me.
Because they did that guy Talk to Me. I don't know if you ever saw that movie.
You talking
Talk to
about with what's his name?
Me? Don Cheadle?
Don Cheadle. He played Willie Petey Green
Yeah.
Petey Green.
It's a good documentary. He's a radio personality.
in Washington D.C. Petey Green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, my legacy is what it is.
That's
But
understandable.
nobody needs to try to, and I'm going to tell my children,
Said don't do it.
when that lid closed down and somebody comes to you and says, we wanted,
By the story. Yeah.
no.
Not even for the
Tell them no.
biography, though? What about if they
I got
want,
enough footage.
That's what I'm saying. What if they want to buy the footage for a biography? You cool with that?
If they're going to pay.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Because my kids, they were part of all that. They were with me in the car, in the back seat of the car, sleep while I'm running around, taping, and down there at WGPR. And, Mr. Keys is ordering Burger Kings to feed them. So,
I can talk all day.
yeah, they were part of it.
I want to keep all my questions, till next time because we want you back. We definitely want you back.
Thank
here.
you.
We
I would
love it.
love to come back. I would love to come back.
So we ready to pull these questions?
Yeah, we can pull the
yeah,
questions.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pull one for me and read it because I don't have my glasses on.
Okay,
And
this one is yours. I'll read this one. It says,
No, ain't doing that one.
this is a good one.
Ooh,
It
challenge
says,
me.
You don't want that one, trust me.
No.
Do assertive people go further in life?
Yes, absolutely.
I agree too.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Because they know what they want, and they work very, very hard to get there.
And the people who I feel like are the go-alongs, the get-alongs, or the brown-nosers, people going, okay, I'm going to have you wanting this spot for 30 years.
The losers.
So, yeah, you gotta
You
be assertive.
lost when you started butt kissing.
Yeah, put your foot down and know
You
this is what I
lost.
want in life. It's so many of those throughout my life.
Yeah.
Several occupations.
Yeah.
People who aren't assertive are people usually that's scared to put themselves out there. They take a risk.
People who are what?
Scared to put themselves out there.
What kind of people are that?
People who are not don't want to be assertive. You know what I mean? Who want to?
They're fearful.
They're very fearful,
a lot of people live in fear
They do. They actually do.
because they're afraid of what people are going to think about them. They're not confident within themselves. It's a lot going on with that, and it's starting with kids. You
Yes.
see it in schools. You see it in high school.
My question, if y'all want to answer it, it says, dang it, I folded it back up. It said, besides death, what is a good punishment for an enemy?
Torture.
Beside death, what is a good torture
Punishment
for a person?
for an enemy. And I would
For
just,
an enemy?
for an enemy.
Oh, I could answer that. Watching me grow. Watching me get bigger and better because you said I couldn't.
See, I was just
That's
ignoring
that's torture right there.
That's torture.
That's torture.
That's torture. To slander and gossip and make a person feel really bad.
make them, you feel belittled in your own mind. I'm not
Yeah.
even thinking about you.
Yeah. But then you rise above all of that in spite of what they said
Absolutely.
because God favored you. Oh, that's a killer, right? You can put a dagger in their back on that one.
What about you?
For me, it would just be, I'll just ignore you. Like, you just,
But you can't ignore everything.
that's true. Sometimes you have to address it, but
No, look, when I say you can't ignore everything, because it's going to be in your face, but silence is the killer. You see it, it's there, you know what they're trying to do, but you never address it. You're quiet.
You know, my granddad got this saying. You know, he said, your thoughts of me will never be as great as mine.
Hello.
That's actually pretty good.
That's
actually
real
really
good.
I go by that every day because he said, look, your thoughts of me will never be as great as mine. So you telling me you don't like me, it's not going to affect who I am.
I don't do
Right.
nothing for me.
Unless I allow it to.
Exactly. There's just some things that we have to learn to shut down. Just shut it down. I see you. I see your mouth moving, but I don't hear you.
Means nothing.
I have nothing to say.
I got a simple question. If you could cook a meal for someone, who would it be for?
For me, it would be an enemy because I can't cook.
Oh, that's let's see.
Can I pull another one?
Yeah, you know, I everybody's special to me. So I know I would probably like to just have a lot of great people in my life that I love, and just say, hey, you know, I'm going to cook. We're going to have a big spread, and we're just going to love on each other. That would be fantastic for me.
Do you typically host a lot of the parties that you have with your family?
I used to. And you know, I haven't in 3 years because the last one was wild. It was so
I mean, like
good.
family gatherings.
That's what it was.
Okay, yeah.
It was my son's birthday. He never had a birthday party in his life. And my cousin, they were days apart. And we had DJ, food, and I mean, it was fantastic. And after that, it's hard to have another party to top that one. Yeah.
I just thought about who I can cook for. I'm gonna cook for my grandparents because they swear up and they don't think I can throw. They think I can't cook.
That's good.
I'm gonna cook for my grand. I'm gonna show them everything you taught me. I'm gonna put it to work.
There you go.
That's what I'm gonna do.
There you go.
Them noodles.
Hey, you can say no. I cook bomb ass noodles. Don't talk about me. And them noodles come out. Mwah.
I used to cut up real chicken in my noodles. Like I used to doll it up, not just a bowl
Yeah,
of noodles.
you
You
know-
got to doll it up.
And when you're in college, and my daughter did that, they took Roman noodles and they had sausage in it and chicken and
Got to.
I used to put shrimp in mine.
oh,
Yeah, back when I was eating shrimp. But I got a fun question. I got a fun question since this is a music episode. If you can beatbox, do your best beatbox impression.
Can't be.
who me?
If you can beatbox.
No, I can't.
I can't.
I can.
Well, you know Dougie Fresh, but you're on it.
I saw Dougie Fresh.
Close.
Yeah, you know I interviewed him too.
Okay, I saw him. He was at the soundboard.
Yeah,
4 years ago, 5 years ago.
I used
No,
to
before
watch-
pandemic.
Good
Before
guy.
pandemic.
I used to watch Dougie Fresh a lot.
I love him.
Yeah,
Just a great guy.
Dougie. Shout out to Dougie Fresh.
Salute to Dougie.
Yeah, so you get everything?
Oh yeah, I got everything.
before-
Interviewing you. Yeah, next time I'm gonna have way more.
Thank you for having me.
But before you go, is there something you would like to promote? A channel, a book, or where they can get in touch with you? How can they do that?
There's some young people that have been on my show. What's Holyfield?
Shout out to Ken Holyfield.
Ken Holyfield.
Salute.
I can't, you know, off the top of my head, name the 3 books that he has out.
We have
Are they out
one
here?
right here.
Yeah, we got two. We got 2 of them.
Okay.
Welcome to Detroit.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Carl Turner, Built by God.
We had him on the show too.
Yep.
Salute to Carl.
Who else? These are people. These are young people that
You
I
had a guy named Hoffa on. You interviewed
Oh,
a guy named Hoffa.
holla, hoffa. Because, you know, when I had him on my show and I said, something I said about, we found Hoffa. We found, and it was Hoffa was on the show, right? But he is a great person.
Yeah,
You know, I
seems like
sound like Trump. You know, he only great in person. And,
Great.
No, yeah, he's great. But these are people that I want to promote, and I'm proud of them. I'm proud of everything that they're doing. And now this is something that you didn't ask me, which would be, what Detroit artists would I want to interview? And that would be Trick Trick.
Man,
Is there a reason why?
I just, he's intriguing to me. And I just want to really have a sit down with him and just go over his whole career.
I like how opinionated he is. I just sent him a video about Trick Trick like 2 or 3 days ago. He made a comment about how he doesn't agree with
The rainbow.
LGBT community.
I think I saw that on
It's another local podcast.
yeah,
The other
and he
guy-
was on channel. He used to be on channel 2 or 4.
Yeah.
I can't.
He's
remember
a
his name.
journalist.
White guy. Yeah.
And then the other guy, his other guest, who I guess is part of the LGBT community,
Right.
he made a comment, but he was like,
Yeah.
man,
He
and he
blew
stood
it.
up for himself. I just like how, hey, I'm a man. He asked you a question that didn't have nothing to do with what I was talking
that's
about.
true.
Stand on your own square.
Right,
And, he checked him. Like,
Yeah,
don't,
yeah.
don't
I
pay your
saw
opinion.
that, but I had for a while had been wanting to reach out to him. We got to. My thing is Detroit first. And these are artists that once Rap's Corner was no more. Then they were coming out. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get a chance, to get to know them and to meet them.
I feel like he would, though.
Yeah, I think he would.
And
I
Big
think he
Hurt,
would.
too. Yeah.
Oh, I did Big Hurt.
Shout out to Big Hurt. Hey,
Yeah,
shout-
Big Hurt.
That's my heart.
That's number one guy
that's
right
my
here.
favorite Detroit rapper of all time.
He was 17. He reminded me he was 17 when he first did Rap's Corner.
No, really?
No.
I didn't know he was that young
17.
though.
Oh yeah, he's a baby.
Really?
He's a baby.
He's been doing it for a while.
But he's such a sweetheart. I tell you, I have not met anyone from Detroit that has been in rap then and now.
What about
That's-
Blade Icewood?
Who, no.
No, then and now. He's not here.
No.
Rest in peace.
Oh, that.
Yeah. Now, Cash Down, I would be interested in doing an interview with her. I think she's beautiful. I think she has a lot of talent, and she's from Detroit.
Yes.
Yeah, she is.
And we need that strong presence, that strong female presence in that genre.
I just saw a story about her just this morning. Cash Doll.
She said then and now. What do you mean by? I'm sorry for cutting you off.
Well, I'm saying, see, artists that when Rap's Corner first started, I did a lot of local
90s or 80s? What are we talking?
80s and 90s.
Yeah, it's hard
But
to
see,
transcend.
a
4
lot of,
decades.
once my show went off the air, then you, like you said, you got the Tupac and that era. But I never came back around to do Detroit.
Oh, I see.
So
what you're
I
saying.
missed
Yeah.
Trick
Oh,
Trick, and I
gotcha.
missed a couple of the other artists.
Now, from that time period, what about people like MC Breed? Were you able to?
I did breed.
Oh, you did Breed?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I did breed. I did an interview with him. It was at the Fox.
Okay.
Yeah, it was at the Fox. His mom and his dad was there, and it hurt me to my heart when he passed away.
Yeah.
I just could not believe it. It was something. Such a sweet person, But you don't know who has health issues. He was just doing his thing, and he did good. I loved that song, and so yeah. I mean, a lot of people have come and gone,
Yeah.
physically and
Just out
in
the
their
industry.
career,
Yeah.
just out the industry.
'Cause,
But I love you, Trick Trick, and I want to meet you. I want to
Hey.
do an interview.
You heard it, lady. Come on now.
Come on,
Don't
Trick Trick.
don't do it like that. Come on. Get in contact with her.
Salute to all local artists and
Yes.
just all artists in general.
We got Marv One over there. Salute.
Marvin, Jay Dilla,
Royce the 5'9".
everybody.
Yeah, I'm doing Jay Dilla in a few weeks. Yeah.
Do a tribute to
No,
him?
is it?
No, they can't be yet because he passed.
No, not Jay Dilla.
Royce
Rest
the
in peace.
5'9".
What's his name? Jay
Jay Nutty. Okay, Jay
right.
Nutty. Rock Bottom. Rock
Yeah,
Bottom.
Rock Bottom. Yeah,
Rock
yeah,
Bottom's
yeah,
the name
yeah.
of the clique. Yeah. Salute. But yeah, salute to all the artists, then and now, and forevermore in the city of Detroit. Salute.
Salute. This has been a good show. Definitely appreciated you.
Thank
as a,
you for
thank you.
having me.
Yes.
Thank you, Miss Cold Medina. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
And of course, you know me. I'm your boy Adrian AKD. Check out my other channel, Adrian AKD. I got a new video out there. People who always laugh at you when nothing is funny. I can't stand you damn people.
My name's Stubbs. I have nothing but this channel.
And he got Wine with a Line coming out soon. I know I keep saying it, but listen to his new single
I'm
coming
gonna hop
out.
in the studio. I never did it before. I'll hop in
Wine with the
studio.
Line. We're going to. Hey, it's coming out.
I'll do it. I'll make
right.
a song. I just dedicated myself to it. I'm gonna make a song.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm gonna be on the hook. Watch. But hey,
You want?
hey, we out of here. Thank you for joining us. Peace.
Peace.